Hello everyone and welcome to the latest edition of This Racing Life. And as the racing world opened its doors for National Racehorse Week, we're here at a HEROS charity event in Oxfordshire as they showcase their behind-the-scenes work with the retraining of racehorses. Later in the programme we'll be looking at two trainers at opposite ends of their career, but for now, here's what's coming up.
This is the absolute jewel in the crown of racing. If racing does the right thing here, it leads to so much, because that's what people think. They don't care, and they do care. And actually there's no other equine industry that does so much as this one.
Absolutely delighted at National Racehorse Week to provide an opportunity for the general public to come around and look at all the amazing things that they do. There's so many things that HEROS do so well, and Grace Muir and her brilliant team basically opened up their doors today, and this is exactly what I want the National Racehorse Week to be.
I've had plenty of people, you put them on and you say, all right, do you think you can ride this for a little while? They went, yeah. I said, how long? Oh, 5 minutes? Not possible. Not possible. If you can push this for a minute, you've done really, really well.
John Gosden was training here when I was a real kid growing up, and I believe in the old yard just outside my house, Zenda, who's the dam of Kingman. She lived there. Not that I can remember her especially, but there were plenty of good horses around.
And he said there are only two reasons for a trainer to retire. He said if nobody sends you any horses to train, or if you're dead.
Well, welcome to the start of the HEROS Charity Day, part of National Racehorse Week, and founder and CEO Grace Muir of HEROS Charity joins me now. Grace, thanks for having us along.
Pleasure. Lovely to see you.
Thank you very much. Tell us a little bit firstly about the charity and what exactly goes on here.
So HEROS was set up in 2006, primarily for retraining and rehoming former racehorses. It's always been my passion. I was brought up with racing. From a very early age, I've used them as riding horses, and I saw what a big part they had to play. So I rehomed a lot of horses pre-2006, but since then it's really helped to do it properly and absolutely put the hallmark on what we do. It became clear, however, that there isn't a lot of money in aftercare at the moment, and I know that the industry is working hard to get more. So we diversified in 2015 with money granted by the Racing Foundation to set up our education programme. When we started it, we didn't actually know what that entailed, but it came to us, and we do a lot of work with special educational needs children. So at present, we have about 32 children a week come through our equine facility, but we're opening a forest school in October, and we're thinking that will grow very quickly. We think at max, probably by September, we hope 80 children a week will be coming through the facility here.
How did this day come about?
To be honest, it's grown unbelievably from 22 to 23. I think it is going to be a proper mark on the calendar. I'm amazed at how much has been done this year and really proud of it.
Absolutely delighted at National Racehorse Week to provide an opportunity for the general public to come around and look at all the amazing things that they do. There's so many things that HEROS do so well, and Grace Muir and her brilliant team basically opened up their doors today, and this is exactly what I want the National Racehorse Week to be, an opportunity for the general public to see all the good that goes on in the racing world, and today is absolute proof.
Nail on the head, the general public. We're not preaching to the converted. We want as many new faces in who wouldn't necessarily be hanging around with horses.
Absolutely. I think the more people, the general public, other than racing, yes, of course we want racing fans, and racing fans have great opportunities to come and see yards, stables, studs, training centres all around the country all year. But National Racehorse Week is about the general public coming to see what we do, because we should be very proud of all the good work that goes on, especially at places like HEROS, where of course not only retrain racehorses, but they do amazing things for people, and you've seen amazing things that people do for racehorses as well. So I'm delighted to support today, and I'm on my way to races, but I thought on the way I'd come and see what's going on. I'm delighted to see so many happy faces.
He was bought for education, because I thought we needed something big enough for the students, but this was like OTT really. So he does get ridden. He's only 5, so he's only a baby. You've got to guess his weight and then you win a jacket, so get your guesses in. Wow. But if you'd like to, if anybody wants to, he's very quiet. One at a time, just walk up, see how big he is. Oh God, you'll find him big. Yeah.
Well, mine's 32, so he's
I know. But this guy plays a great part, because again, you see, he came from somewhere where he looked awful when he came, and he just loves people, because they do, because they're treated with mutual respect here.
How did HEROS come to be associated with the Horse Welfare Board for this event?
HEROS were awarded a contract to support horses coming out of racing through the first step out of racing in October 2022, and so they are absolutely pivotal and key to that provision, as well as so many of the retraining centres and aftercare providers across the country.
It's so important, horse welfare. It always has been, of course, but it's never been such a hot topic. Days like this, they help to dispel a few myths to people that may have certain opinions which they kind of need to be corrected.
Well, absolutely, and quite apart from that, it's a hot topic. You know, there's a huge amount being invested in it in terms of people and money, and it really is top of the agenda. And the horse absolutely does come first, and it's without the horse, our sport is nothing. And days like today are the great example of being able to actually show people the great stuff that goes on across the whole sort of racing spectrum, as you were.
Now, if you don't remember the names Typography and Karaka from their time on the racetrack, don't worry, I won't judge you, I didn't either. However, we're about to see them in a demonstration, strutting their stuff in a new discipline, dressage.
This is an example of two ex-racehorses that have come in through different routes who are now retrained, or on the process. He is retrained, and this one is still going along his journey. So let's first of all talk about Typography here. So this is his journey, okay? He was born here at North Farm Stud, and this is an example of how I think we should all be responsible for horses that we breed. He was actually born out of my mare, which was called Bold Byzantium. He went into training and wasn't a great racehorse. And was a tricky little bean as that, but you know, they're quirky, her lot. He now works in our education with the young children riding him. So he really isn't that bad, but he needs to know his boundaries. And when they get out there and they run amok, they cause havoc. So he isn't going anywhere. He's in the club, Typography, but he's also an education horse. But look how beautifully he goes.
There are plenty of young names in the racing game at this point, none more so in the flat game, and Ollie Sangster has taken out his licence at the age of 26. He's got an enviable international racing CV, and that kind of success is translated into his first season with a licence. It's not a question of why he started up here at the Manton Estate, his yard just a stone's throw away from this historic, iconic spot. But the question is, why now?
I've been lucky enough to have grown up here and grown up around the horses, but having said that, I love the bloodstock and the breeding side, but sure, it was soon enough that the training side was where my sort of eye was really taken. Yeah.
Talk about a CV as well in the lead up to this. You've been everywhere. You've done a lot of different jobs. Just give us an idea of who you've been to and what you've seen.
Yeah, I suppose I've had a bit more of an obscure CV in a way than perhaps more conventional people might have done, most of it being based abroad. I spent a very brief stint down with David Hayes there when he was still in Australia at Lindsay Park. I worked for Charlie and Barry Hills, or Charlie Hills there in Lambourne. That was my first sort of full-time job there. He had Batash there, that was a good time. Then I went for 2 years over with Wesley Ward, primarily at Keeneland. Then I'd come back here for Ascot and then go up to Saratoga. That was a great stint. Then I came back, COVID year, worked for Hugo Palmer, just after George had left, which was good, but COVID sort of, made that a difficult enough year there. And then I went to Joseph O'Brien's for the last, just shy of 2 years before getting organised here last year. So yeah, not perhaps the most conventional, and 4 and a bit of those years was spent abroad. But I definitely wouldn't change it anyway. Now in hindsight, I'm delighted.
It's not like you were just moving into digs and you needed to familiarise yourself with the surroundings. This is a place you grew up and you know it.
Yeah, I've been very lucky to have grown up here. We live or have lived in the old yard there since 2000, so it's a wonderful place, and I suppose when you're a kid you perhaps don't appreciate it as much as I definitely do now. It's a beautiful place and you're here on a nice morning anyway. John Gosden was training here when I was a real kid growing up, and I believe in the old yard just outside my house, Zenda, who's the dam of Kingman. She lived there. Not that I can remember her especially, but there were plenty of good horses around, and yeah, so I suppose nice to have grown up here and just have the horses outside your window. It's something you perhaps take for granted, but it was a real treat,
That answers the why here. But the why now is a very interesting one because you're 26. There's plenty of 26-year-olds that like to muck about and grow up around the 30 age. You are a little bit more premature than that.
Yeah. I felt like I was ready to go in terms of what I'd learned and what I'd seen and I'd done. Ultimately, a lot of starting a new business boils down to is the finance side of it. And I was lucky to be involved in a good filly there last year, Saffron Beach, who we sold well, in December. So that's basically the reason it was now, as opposed to next year or the year after, is I had that sort of springboard to enable me to get the business off the ground,
What a sensational filly she was. 6 from 13 in her career, 5 group races, 2 of them at the top level. The horse of a lifetime. Yeah,
she was. So we'll have to try and find another one. And obviously there's a similar enough theme there with the filly Shawari, both by New Bay, both a sort of deep chestnut colour, and if she can even be half as good as Saffron Beach, which she looks half as good at the moment, but we'll have a bit of sport there. Yeah.
Did you have a highlight of Saffron Beach's career? One that really stuck out for you?
I suppose I wasn't there when she won the first Group 1, the Sun Chariot. I was out in Deauville when she won the Prix Rothschild. That was great. We went for a weekend and it was amazing. I think the whole theatre attached to her selling as well, although it was the end of what had been a really fun and enjoyable journey. That was an amazing evening as well. And it was great to do it with Jane. I've formed a really good relationship with Jane as well through that. Jane will be someone I can now ring up and talk to, and A, for a bit of advice, and B, on a friend-to-friend basis. So just the whole thing was, a real fairy tale dream come true. You long to have a half-decent horse, let alone a Group 1 winner. So yeah, I'll be just looking for the next one now, so we'll have to wait a fair while, but you never know.
You might not have to wait long. As you say, another New Bay in your care, Shawari. Talk about how absolutely essential in your first season of training to have a flag bearer, a horse who can really get your name out there. You were interviewed by us afterwards. You've had other interest from lots of different media for it. That's great for a first season trainer. Yeah,
it's been obviously very helpful. Most of my yard is primarily 2-year-olds, so there's a risk associated with that if the bunch of them aren't up to scratch, it'll have been a tricky enough year. So it's nice to have had a flag bearer, and she's obviously produced the goods on the track. So it's been good for the yard and good for obviously me personally, and it's been good for everyone involved. Yeah.
In racing, inevitably there are going to be people that see the surname Sangster and just would expect immediate success. Is it a blessing and a curse at times?
Yeah, I think a bit of both. Like you said, on one hand, people I've been getting messages saying, "Oh, it's great to see the colours out again," which don't get me wrong, the colours have by no means been in hibernation. Sam Sangster, my cousin, uses them for his syndicates in his own horses, and they've had a lot of luck between Isaac Shelby, Barraquero, and lots of good horses there. But equally, it's nice. People have enjoyed seeing the colours and seeing, we've had a couple of winners in them. So really, we have a small team here, and we all work hard, and like the success is hopefully coming off the back of that. I have a good team of staff and some supportive owners, and I'd like to think in reality they're supporting us for what we are here, and not for races that my grandfather won 30 years ago. Yeah,
a first season trainer, generally, when you go and visit them for the first time, there needs to be experience on the team, but there also needs to be a bit of youthful exuberance, not just through the trainer, but through people who are actually carrying out the orders. You have a really good blend of both, seeing it this morning.
Yeah, I'd say that's a really good way of putting it. I've got some really good riders and a good team. My head girl, Maisie, was based at Clarehaven for years, used to ride lots of good horses between Palace Pier and Too Darn Hot. Paul, her husband, he was there for a while, he used to ride Stradivarius, so it's nice to be able to call on that experience, but equally the vast majority of my team is rightly or wrongly under 30, so there's a bit of kind of camaraderie as well, and yeah, as far as I'm aware, it seems to be a good working environment anyway, and everyone seems to enjoy it and get along, and yeah, it seems like to me anyway, a happy place to work.
Yeah, I'm just going to show you what we do day to day on this, and there's different exercises, but they're all great. They're fantastic for fitness, and any jockey that's off for a period of time and they make their way back, they use these because it makes all the muscles you're going to use on the race riding day, this thing finds them out, and it's really quite tiring. And I've had plenty of people, you put them on and you say, right, do you think you can ride this for a little while? They went, yeah. I said, how long? Oh, 5 minutes? Not possible. Not possible. If you can push this for a minute, you've done really, really well. So we're just going to watch Mohammed here, and you'll see it's quite strenuous. So just start off, Mohammed gets sit up as if you're cantering, and then drop down into push position and just give it a nice little push, and then we'll give it a little tiny tap each side when we want to go faster. Okay, keep it like that. As you can see, there's not much part of your body that's not working here. Your ankles, your knee, backside, your back, shoulders, muscles, everything's working. And there's very little can get you as fit as this will. Not even riding out 5 laps a day will not get you as fit as this thing can get you.
You've just been putting Mohammed Tabti through his paces on the Equisizer. You were a pioneer of jockey coaching.
Yes, I was indeed. I started with the very first group, and I've carried on ever since. And I enjoy it. I like passing on information that's now no good to me, but useful to other people. And there's plenty of the jockeys have benefited from that. I've had 3 champion apprentices and 2 or 3 that have been second and third, and a lot that have made the grade and are making a living, a good living. So that's what I'm all about, really.
Well, I'd say everyone who was around for the demonstration you gave just a few minutes ago would have learnt plenty from it. Well, why exactly did you want to be involved with National Racehorse Week, and especially here at HEROS Charity?
Well, I've been sort of on the board here for years with Grace, and you know, finding a way out for racehorses is a great thing, because horses are great. I mean, we all know that. I mean, we ride them, but you know, we love them first of all, and then we ride them. And you know, you're a jockey, so you ride lots of them. You don't get ultra friendly with them like some of the stable staff would and the trainer and stuff. But you know, you started off that way, and you never lose that love for horses. And you want to see them going the right way and finding new homes and doing something they can do, because they can't all run fast. That's just not the way it is. But just to dump them after that, it's an awful shame. But now there's sort of outlets for them, and they do other things, which is fantastic.
Things like this are particularly important in weeks like this for people that wouldn't usually be around racing yards, people that might not necessarily have an interest, but they want to learn a bit more about it. We're not preaching to the choir, essentially.
No, I think so. I mean, the problem is nowadays people don't see horses. You know, it's many years ago since they were pulling around the streets and everybody had horses and rode horses, and they're not. There's still a lot of horses, but they're hidden a little bit. So not many people get up close to them now, and I think it's good to see people working with horses and you know, showing that, you know, although we use them as a tool to race, we actually all love them to bits, and nobody in racing would do it otherwise, because you have to love it. It's a hard job. I mean, training or riding, it's not a simple job. It's you know, full of failures, a lot of failures. And every day you train, you have to get used to losing, because most of the time you lose. So it's a funny game to be in. Thank you very much. That was good, and thank you for listening.
Well, if you managed 10 years in this game, you're worthy of a pat on the back. It's an unforgiving business in racehorse training. Henry Candy's been doing it for 50 years ago. He started out taking over his father's licence at Kingstone Warren. There's been plenty of big race success in the years intervening, including into this year, and it doesn't look like it'll be stopping anytime soon.
It's gone very quickly. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope there's plenty more to come. I was approached by one of my then big owners at Newbury, Eric Pencer, and out of the blue he said, "Henry, you're not going to retire, are you?" So I said, "No, Eric, certainly not." And he said, "There are only 2 reasons for a trainer to retire." He said, "If nobody sends you any horses to train, or if you're dead." So that was fairly definite. And I think the other relevant remark was Bill Turner, who was interviewed last year. He said, "Just remember, there are only 2 chairs that kill you, the electric chair and the armchair." So I've taken note of both of those, and I shall continue for some time to come.
Well, you've had some big runners in the last few weeks. Start with Araminta, who made the trip over to Dublin. It didn't quite work out, but she still ran a very respectable race up into Group 2 company.
She's great. She tries her heart out. She took me by surprise winning first time out in that desperate ground at Newbury, but she was very impressive. And she's never run a bad race. Very genuine. As you could see when we had her out just now, she's enormous. Hasn't really filled her frame yet, still a little bit weak. That trip to Dublin took quite a bit out of her. She just looks a little bit better today, but she's looked pretty lean since. So I think she's on her way back. Looking at the form before that race, I thought fourth would be quite respectable. But then at the furlong pole, when she started to make up ground, I thought, great, she's going to go and finish second. And then just ran out of steam.
Mid-July, it's always, we're right into the thick of the season at that point. Everyone's got their own thing going on, especially on July Cup weekend. There's a plethora of different options of racing, but it was a particularly poignant one for you this season.
It was fantastic, absolutely brilliant. I was slightly worried about sending Araminta over there, not knowing how she would travel. But from the moment she got on the box, all she wanted to do was eat. She loved it in France, totally and completely relaxed. I had a very good assistant trainer that day who helped Charlotte, the travelling girl, to saddle, by the name of John Hammond, who trained the odd winner in his time. So
He did train the odd winner, yeah.
he helped us out over there. But it was just lovely to see the filly win and to be able to give Gerald a decent ride at last.
She's taken giant strides throughout her season. Are you expecting that with another winter under her belt and to kick on into next season?
I think she ought to carry on improving, yeah. I think a filly with that size and scope and that mental attitude and that pedigree, there's no reason why she shouldn't be able to give it a try in Group 1 company at some stage.
Your father was a trainer, in fact here, but you took over his licence, is that right?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
For what kind of man was he like?
Very old-fashioned. I mean, in those days, it was 2 lots. Each lad did 2 horses. Go around every evening, not quite with the white gloves inspecting them, but very nearly. It was all a very different game in those days.
We were talking before, and I was asking you some questions about what was here when you first started out in training. Just give us an idea of exactly what was here and what is now here off the back of your intervention.
Well, to start with, that long drive that you came down there wasn't there. It was a farm track. I think there were 12 stables here. All the gallops that we have now went with Seven Barrows. Seven Barrows and Kingston Warren were owned by the Craven Estates. So my father came here as a tenant of a few stables, and there was a farmer here called Adam Muir, who would have been Willie's uncle, who had a lovely herd of pedigree Herefords. So everything was mud and barbed wire around the place, and there was friction between farm and stable, obviously. I won't bore you and take you out around the place, but we've planted 8 miles of hedges and we've planted a lot of woods, and we've taken over quite a bit of the farm and converted into stables, so the yard is bigger. We now have all the gallops in hand, so we can look after those properly. A lot of what you see we've done, staff cottages and staff hostel and all that sort of thing. So it's just been constantly ongoing.
An ongoing process, like in training, is essentially you're always looking for the next step up. You're always looking for something that you haven't yet achieved. What really stands out to you that before you were able to hand in your licence, not that you're ever going to, that you'd like to say, I'm really glad that I managed to achieve that?
I should like to win another Group 1 race. Not that I don't love sprinting, but I'd love to win a Group 1 over a mile or further again. But then you're very spoilt to have had a time charter on a Master Willie winning all the 1.25 mile, 1.5 mile races.
Why in particular over that distance and not another sprint Group 1?
Oh, just for the variety. Just to prove to all the people that say that I can only train sprinters that maybe that's not strictly true.
So this feed is an all-round balanced feed that puts condition on. That's what we want it to do. So when they come out of racing, they're fit. We want them to be fit, but not to that level. We want them to look well, if you like. Not fat, there's a happy medium, but certainly not racing fit. Everybody, again, has their bespoke breakfast and dinner, and some of them get late night feeds, some of them get lunches, but it just all depends who you are.
It's fantastic to see sponsorship from a very familiar sponsor name. We all know the Red Mills Chase over in Ireland, but sponsoring an event and part of a big week, which is very important to the industry.
Absolutely. When Red Mills got involved with HEROS, it was because we wanted to, again, show our commitment to the industry and to the horses that have supported us. These horses, a lot of them have eaten our feed during their racing careers, and we as a company don't want to forget about those horses once they've stopped racing. You know, so therefore helping them, provide them with a well-rounded diet and supporting their retirement years is crucial for us as well. We very much see it as a cradle to grave process, you know, young horses, then during their racing career and then afterwards. So to us, this is a vital thing for us to be doing to show our commitment to the horses and the industry.
How drastically different would a racehorse's diet be to a dressage horse's diet?
Yeah, so obviously a lot of people would initially think that a dressage horse wouldn't want the same kind of levels of energy as a racehorse, but actually if you ever watch a professional dressage test, those horses are working quite hard in their own way. Feed is, in terms of different disciplines, yes, it is tailored to different markets, but even within the racing industry, you would find some racehorses that would be on a higher starch, higher energy diet than a lower starch diet, be it national hunt, be it flat. Across the board, sometimes we have sprinters and national hunt staying horses that would be on the same bag of feed as well. So yes, I see what you're saying in terms of is there a different need, a different diet, but actually with a well-rounded product, you can actually provide the right balanced diet for horses in a lot of different disciplines.
We saw a very different type of horse earlier, Goliath, who is he lives up to every little bit of that being his name. He is giant. There's a competition that all of the patrons here, all of the people who've turned up have been to guess the weight. Can you reveal exclusively the weight?
Yes, so according to Grace Muir, the last time he was weighed, it was 850 kilos, which actually for a Shire wouldn't be his peak weight. He's 5 years old, he's still growing. And Grace is delighted with his condition. You saw him today on our feed. He's using that protein as building block for his muscle mass as he's getting bigger. And yeah, he probably may eat a few more bowls than everybody else, but he's on the same diet as everyone else and doing great.
Ian, thanks for having a word with us. What brings you to this HEROS charity event?
Oh, well, I have my 18-year-old ex-racehorse up here. I bought him as an unbroken 3-year-old. And he raced with Jeremy Scott, and he won for him. And when I bought him, I always knew he could do another job in life because he's got this amazing trot action. Anyway, I wouldn't like to say how much money was spent on him over all these years keeping him, but he's won countless dressage competitions. And last year he won the National Dressage Championships for ex-racehorses up at Aintree. And he came third the previous year and third again this year. And I've known Grace for a long time. I've had other horses up here. And now he is a HEROS horse, and he will have a home for the rest of his life.
So it's the 3rd year running of National Racehorse Week. I hope it's getting bigger and better, and everyone in racing should be really proud of what they do. Not only racehorse trainers, but the stud world, the breeders of Britain have done a fantastic job of looking after horses from the very birth to the end, as it were, and also jockeys, owners, you know, all the supporters of racing, the media, all the journalists, all the authorities, all those people that contribute to racing should be celebrating National Racehorse Week, because it's something to be proud of, because the racehorse is the reason we do it all, and it's an opportunity to celebrate the racehorse for 1 week of the year, and it looks like so as everyone is.
So that's it for the latest edition of This Racing Live. Thanks to everyone who opened their doors to us this week. Thanks especially to the HEROS charity. A great day seeing retraining of racehorses and meeting plenty of fans engaging with the sport. If you want to find out how you can help this charity, details are below. But from all of us, it's bye-bye.
Subscribe to Racing TV's YouTube channel now to watch more great races like this.